Story 2 has stand the test of time in theaters and in the hearts of loved ones, and that also includes on home media. Hey everyone, Joe here from the Collection Compass, and welcome to our Disney and Pixar's Toy Story 2 home media showcase. Every single home media version that you can own from Toy Story 2 that existed from all the way back in the year of 2000 to all the way to now. It's just kind of, the staying power of the Toy Story franchise from then to now. Like, while Toy Story 1 will always have, be the one that started it all, it's the one that, like, is the oldest, that's going to stand the test of time, that's been there for a much longer time. Toy Story 2 still counts in there. Like, 1999 to 1995 wasn't that much of a difference. 4 year of difference. Still exists a lot of opportunities for this film to be on the marketplace for a lot of I was surprised when I actually got down to the nitty gritty of it, how many times Toy Story 2 was in home media shelves, and how many times, I think, to be completely transparent with you, I probably saw it on shelves on my local Target, at Best Buy when they used to sell home media. Like, it was still prevalent at the time period that just, you just print out the Toy Story films and it's always going to make money. And the fact that it spawned between VHS to DVD to Blu-ray to 4K just demonstrates how the staying power is, how marketable it is, and just in general how it was always easy to print out a new batch of copies and boom, it's just an instant moneymaker right there. There's just so many out there. And for me, being a kid, this was the first Pixar movie to come out when I've been born. A Bug's Life is debatable, to be honest with you, but Toy Story 2 was the first Pixar film to come out in my lifetime. So for it to be here, obviously in the existence of my life, whether it was all the way back when I was a kid, 5 years old, to all the way now being nearly 30 years old, just having so much of Toy Story in my life, in my heart, is just something special for me to share, and I look forward to showing you guys what I have in store for every Toy Story 2 home media release. Now, the first one that I technically would have would be the original VHS copy that started it all. Now, for context, I did have it. It was somewhere in my collection, but of course, moving around, reorganizing, establishing the wall, establishing shelves, it's been misplaced. Trust me, I've scoured through almost every single piece of organizational areas that I could look at that I thought it would be in, but it's not. So just imagine what you see now. But yeah, essentially it is just the VHS with the movie, and that's really it. This is just the standard, the base quality you're getting at the time period, where it all came from. And honestly, again, like, that held memories to me, having the original and the sequel to just binge so many times, rewatching it, looping that tape, rewinding it back and forth. It did create memories. And I know this is very much kind of, anticlimactic, since all you're looking at right now is just the photo of the VHS where I should have it. It could be here, but it's not here. What else can I really say? I can't really say much more than that. Now, firmly probably we have the Toy Story 2-pack, which concluded the first movie and the second movie. This was the very first time that the film, both the original and the sequel, were available to own on the DVD format at the time period. Again, this is all the way back in the year of 2000, so this was a really big leap in the technology for home media. Now, again, when I did cover this particular edition back in my Toy Story 1 every home media edition ever released, yeah, this was primarily very Toy Story 2 centric, and I told them back then to y'all that I would talk more about this when we got to the sequel. So here we are. So yeah, this is just mainly using the theatrical poster cover for the sequel, just because, well, it made sense. They're advertising it as a 2-pack, so why not use the one where Woody is, like, utilizing the peace sign emoji behind Buzz. And of course, obviously, this is a 2-disc set. This comes with both films, 1 and 2. Also, I always notice this, like, weird error, like, when I've been doing editing for this particular project, is like, yeah, Woody's arm is, like, completely cleaned up. And yeah, you could probably say, well, that was the premise of the movie, kind of hinting to the fact of, like, he was going to lose his arm, which I'm like, yeah, I understand that, but still. The spine cover, which includes both Toy Story, which does include the original models from the first movie, and then the new toys, Jessie and Bullseye, in the sequel for Toy Story 2 to disc edition. And in the back, it kind of comes with both brief descriptions of both films and what this includes. It does include some special features, but not really much. The first disc does have the Tin Toy short film that Pixar was very much known for, and for the second film with Luxio Jr., as well as some of the outtakes and a sneak peek at the next film, which was coming out at the time, which was Monsters Incorporated, which I'm like, oh, that'll be interesting to cover someday in the future. And then the thing about this was the very beginning of the DVD style is that you can see these little creases. This is very different. So the left side just focuses on the first movie, and then if you open up the right side, it focuses on the second movie, which is pretty cool. It really is pretty cool. Obviously, they're a little bit different. You know, this was like really much meant for promo shots. The first movie was not. This just kind of like copied and paste some stuff from the movie. Not gonna lie to you about it. And then the little pamphlet, which I'm gonna put down the cover for a second. Come on, arms be hurting me. So you get to see a pamphlet cover of the Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2, which kind of like lines up perfectly Woody and Buzz's heights. And then the back cover, which is the rest of the toys. And obviously when you open this up, it kind of is like this connecting shot, which again is really cool. Kind of weird that they did not include Jessie in here. Like it's kind of weird. It really is, in a sense. And then on the inside, the only thing you get to see is the chapter selection for both projects, which this was a lot of chapters at the time. Keep in mind, these are 90-minute animated films. So like every 2 minutes, you're skipping ahead. This is crazy. This is really crazy. Oh, there's Jessie. And there's Slinky Dog. I was wondering where he was. Now, continuing onwards, the last DVD edition, the last home media edition that was released in the original home media cycle for Toy Story 2 back into the year 2000 was the Ultimate Toy Box Edition. This was the most premium way that you could own Toy Story 2 at the time period, as this included the first movie, the second movie, and all of the production behind-the-scenes goodies that you would love to enjoy. In a 3-pack. So it would be a giant box, well, like a standard box, and it would come with 3 individual mini DVD cases. The first one just being the first movie, the second one being the second movie, and the third one coming with all the bonus features for both films. And to be honest, it's obviously dated. Obviously, you know, there was only so much. These were like the very early primitive discs, so there was only so much you can store on them. So just getting a movie on there was a miracle. So obviously, it's very dated. The silver backdrop doesn't quite do it for me still. It just kind of feels like it's a color scheme that doesn't really work with the Toy Story characters. But here, again, at the time period, this was the most premium way you could own it. And again, one of the only 2 ways you can own this particular film on DVD, so you really couldn't really complain too much, if I'm being honest with it. You just kind of had to live with it for the time being and just kind of accept it. But again, at the time period, considering the fact there was a way for you to like really figure out and know how they made these movies, again, this being the accessibility point for it, I take it. I take it any day of the week. We move forward even just 5 months later as we enter 2001, and they decide to finally give a much more regular alternative version to own Toy Story 2 individually in a very special silver backdrop, regular special edition DVD. Now, essentially, it is the variant from the Toy Story Ultimate Box Set version of it. It just now is just independently buyable for your viewing consumption. And something that I just realized now when I was editing this is that technically the silver version is meant to coincide with the gold version of the original Toy Story. So it's like gold and silver. I mean, well, technically for me, I think Toy Story 2 is the more superior film. Spoilers for the After the Theater movie review, which you can go check also again, once again, on Action X. But it was just like a very weird, you know, comparison. Again, for me, again, I'm just reviewing this before, I do not like the silver backdrop. I really don't. I just don't think they work with the models. You know, this being now like essentially the same as the theatrical poster, but this time just having a silver backdrop. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. But again, 2001, this was 25 years ago at this point. DVDs are not where they are now. So again, they were trying something new. They were trying to be unique. If you know, you had bought the gold and silver edition back at that time period, you know, it was unique. And again, it was a duology. So like, it kind of made sense. So now I'm looking back and it was still surprising. Toy Story 3 never got a bronze edition. Just something to think about. We fast forward now to 2005, where at the same time where Toy Story was celebrating its 10th anniversary, Disney decided, well, you know what? We can't leave the sequel out of it, so they made a 2-disc special edition version of Toy Story 2, which this was the one that I got as a kid. This was my primary version of it. Honestly, this is a massive improvement to the silver backdrop. You got your 4 main characters from their models from the second movie, the logo, the 2-disc special edition. God, I replayed this so many times. Like you're about to see why on the inside. Side profile, you got Jessie in the middle. on the back, you get to see the description of the movie, and then what does the new bonus features for this particular edition come with? Well, for the time period, it does come with a sneak peek at Cars, which at the time was the next movie in the lineup, and apparently a new game called Which Toy Are You? But honestly, essentially, this is basically like just utilizing the much more advanced DVD technology. This has been 4 years since the last release, so there really was some things for them to improve on to make it a little bit more better, and they can store more now, so they were able to showcase a little bit more. This was still at the era where DVDs need these little teeth thingies. I can't really tell you what the purpose of them are for. And on the inside, this one just comes with the movie. It has Woody, Buzz, and Jesse on it. And then on disc number 2, you get Slinky, Bullseye, and Rex on it, which all the bonus material included, which, and again, this has been commonly used since, like, I Lost the Manual, this little pop fell out, so yeah, the disc constantly falls. So yeah, it's a sign of a well-worn DVD at the time period. But you know what? I love it. I've rewatched, like, once I got this version back in 05, I believe actually 06 really, because this actually came out on Christmas Day of 2005. So I'm pretty sure I got this at 2006. But yeah, so I was very, very happy with this to like get to own one of my favorite films of all time physically again on DVD. So I was very, very happy with this. And you know, it just showcases the time period of like, you know, how the technology wasn't improved. We were moving ahead of it. Now we move on another 5 years later. Well, actually 4.5. Who's really counting? 05, 2010, it's 5 years for me. To celebrate the upcoming release of Toy Story 3, Disney released new versions of both Toy Story 1 and of course Toy Story 2. The special editions, which this time coincided with the Blu-ray release, the first time it was being available on Blu-ray. And honestly, I really don't have a need to like separate these two. They're kind of interchangeable. The only real reason with this is that one is Blu-ray plus DVD and the other one's DVD plus Blu-ray, because this was at a time period where Disney was essentially kind of getting the DVD owners like myself to cross over to the Blu-ray side by putting Blu-ray discs in DVD packaging, which honestly, I've told my friends this, I've told George this before, that had they actually done that, if you just kept it in the original packaging style, I would have 100% jumped ship to Blu-ray a long time ago. But considering the fact my whole collection is based on DVD molds, it makes no sense for me to jump ship at that point. But anyway, so whether you get the Blu-ray version, which has a blue border, or the DVD version, which is more prominent of the red one, similar to the 2005 edition, these were the newest ways that you could own Toy Story 2. Predominantly the Blu-ray version comes with some new features, which doesn't really add anything to the existing Toy Story 2 movie. These are just new things that they created specifically for this, just to kind of like add that this is you're getting something new with this particular edition. Had you own the 05 edition, or from 2001, or from the original release, there's a reason to be incentivized. The secondary reason is because it comes with a free movie ticket to go see Toy Story 3 when it premiered in theaters a couple months later. So this is like, you know, just product synergy to get you out the door and getting you into theaters to go see the next installment of the Toy Story series, which honestly again worked well, considering the fact Toy Story 3 made $1 billion at the time period. So the strategy did definitely work. Whether the whole media actually made a dent in it or not, that's a little unclear in my opinion, a little bit unclear. But honestly, again, you know, this was at a very unique time for Disney. You know, the transition from DVD to Blu-ray being the new master race for home media was acknowledged. It was seen, and honestly, again, this was very much something that I, as a consumer, was just very happy to see, just, you know, there being a new version of Toy Story 2 out of the market, same with the original Toy Story. But for the features, didn't do anything for me at the time. I didn't need to see Buzz Takes Manhattan or get to see 3 animated films. Like, it wasn't for me. I mean, you know, and spoilers, my mother worked at a movie theater at the time, so I went to go see Toy Story 3 for free anyways. I think at least 2 to 3 times. I believe so. Was I wrong on that? Yeah, around there, around that time, around that amount of times. Now, just moving a couple months ahead, you know, again, we were building the synergy between Blu-ray and DVD, but there were some collectors that didn't want to, you know, have the Blu-ray edition. They didn't believe in that yet. That wasn't their prerogative, so they did a couple months. They were just a month before Toy Story 3 came out. They made standard, regular DVD editions of the newest molds, which again it wasn't really anything too new. It was just like kind of, again, having another new SKU to promote the movie to get ready for Toy Story 3, which again, you know, again, market synergy. This was before the era of Disney Plus. This was before the age of streaming. So, like, you know, the best way to get your movies more in the hands of consumers is to release as many home media products as possible. So again, the Toy Story 2 cover this time just being the characters sorted around, still keeping to that same red backdrop that I think Toy Story 2 is so identifiable with in this early time period, in its first real decade on the home media market. I think it was just a very nice way to kind of, you know, close in ended up, the features were the same thing as the combo pack we just talked about a minute ago, and it still came with a free ticket for Toy Story 3. So for me, it was a win-win. And honestly, again, had I not gotten the 2-disc special edition, I think I would have been very, very fine with getting this edition as well at the time period. Then by the following year, once Toy Story 3 was out, the world has seen it, and it was already available for that particular film on regular home media, came the big bundle. It's like every time a franchise hits a trilogy or a quadrilogy or just becoming a big movie series, comes opportunities to re-release the crap out of these films, which in 2011 it did happen again, as the film received a 3-pack on Blu-ray 3D, which included the first movie, the second film, and the third film in the Blu-ray 3D format, which was a huge boom at the time, getting 3D movies more prominently featured in movie theaters, and then also with Blu-ray 3D TVs at home, which again, the fad didn't really carry on. They still were workable as generic Blu-rays as well, so it wasn't really like you needed the 3D component as well. It was just, just the additive nature to kind of promote this big boom, which again, spoiler warnings, it never really took on. We're just now more caring about the quality and the resolution rather than like these extra little things, which I'm like, thank God we never got the 4D. I don't think any of us could really have handled it by then. But the cover was okay, it was really cool, going back to that light blue style that Toy Story 1 was so used for, Woody representing the first film, Buzz representing the second film, and then Lotso representing the third film, which again, not really the biggest fan of that formation. I think Jesse should have remained 2, and then Buzz should have been taken over for 3, but again, this is me being nitpicking. And then of course you have the ultimate toy box version, which was a physical mold of Andy's toy chest with all the DVDs from Toy Story 1 to 3 in the Blu-ray version of it, which honestly, it was really cool. It was really expensive at the time. I just did not have the money or was able to ask my dad for it. So it's like, it sadly was a pipe dream, but considering the fact we got a 4th and now getting a 5th, it just like, it would have been like, damn, it just would have been a cool thing that would have been outdated by the next decade, essentially speaking. We get to 2015 where it's the 20-year anniversary for the original Toy Story, so similar to what we got for the 10-year anniversary, they did a whole reprint of the 3 movies, which included Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, in a very weird, like, portrait style, with Jesse being the main character with a very teal backdrop to it. It was just a Blu-ray edition only. Honestly, when I saw this in stores at the time, I'm like, again, you're just getting the movie out there. Streaming was just starting to take off with Netflix, but, the Toy Story films were very much outside of that. But still, very much like for me, I'm just like, well, it doesn't really do it for me. It's just a new sleeve on top of the existing packaging, so it doesn't really do anything for me specifically. But again, 20 years of the franchise, you got to celebrate all that's come to, and that was just the way they wanted to express at the time period. And again, just having another new version out there, because it had been almost 5 years since the last new edition came out. So it was just the most modern way at the time you can own Toy Story 2 for yourself. So again, I'll give them credit on that. They were still keeping it accessible for the consumers out there that really wanted it. And now we approach 2019. It was the 20-year anniversary specifically for Toy Story 2 and the impending release of Toy Story 4. So the two timings of it made it perfect for like, okay, we're going to re-release this film again in a 3-set packet this time around. So first of all was the new version of the Blu-ray, which this time included a much more colorful, like multicolor approach. It was white and yellow with Jessie still being the focus with her in mid yodel, and then in the very weird corner piece you had Buzz running with him from the crossing the intersection expressway from the movie. So again, all synergy 20-year anniversary edition, not really advertised and stuff, but just a way for you to get to view the film again to prepare for Toy Story 4. So again, that's just marketing for the sake of maybe, but again, this was just basically the same Blu-ray edition, just now made for 20 years and for the promotion of 4. And then the following month after that, you got the standard 4K edition. It was the first time you can own Toy Story 2 on 4K. The cover art is basically the same. You're still getting a Blu-ray disc inside of there. Now you're just getting the 4K version of the film for you to be able to watch in that crisp 4K quality before you go to see the very, really in-depth photorealistic Toy Story 4, which I'm like, damn, they were really going all above and beyond with the marketing synergy for this one. And then finally, to wrap up 2019, while this came out after Toy Story 4 came out, this was the big boom of the 4K Steelbook, as they released almost the entirety of every Pixar film at the time that did not had a steelbook version, which I believe started prominently with Finding Dory, Cars 3, in a very loose way of saying it. And so they went back and did this like very, very unique art style. This one being an orange backdrop, again, Toy Story 2. Kind of shifted from the red tone that the first wave did to now the orange tone, which again still worked. I think it still very much works for this particular film. This one having the logo, you get to see Woody, Buzz, and Jessie somehow all riding Bullseye in a very heroic pose of it. This kind of is similar to the ending of the film where they are, spoilers for that, where they're all saved at the end of the day from the giant plane sequence. The side this time comes with a more blue tint on it, and yeah, orange and blue, honestly, low-key, they're giving Knicks vibes. Low-key, they are giving the Knicks vibes with that one. And on the back, the little like symbol icon is Woody and Buzz's feet, which has Andy's name on it, which is very symbolic in my opinion. It really, really is. And on the inside, you get the 4K disc, the Blu-ray disc, the digital code copy at the time, and for the side C and D input, which that requires me to drop all these discs, is when Buzz and the rest of the toys are running across the very busy highway street to get to Al's Toy Barn, which this is a new angle. This is not from the movie. This is just something new for the marketing purposes, which does work. I feel like if there's any other shot from the movie for it to work here, it was this one, and it really does work, in my opinion, on it. The contents of the back includes, of course, obviously just the 4K movie. The Blu-ray is everything you've gotten before in all the general Blu-ray releases. And yeah, that's basically about it. Other than that, the rest are just the usual specifications. This is being the first 4K version of it, the limited edition collectible steelbook. This was a Best Buy exclusive, which I'm like, at the time period, like, you know, honestly, there's some things I really wish I would have been able to buy from Best Buy at the time period to avoid spending money on selective steelbooks, but also at the same time, there were some other steelbooks, you know what, I was very happy that I was able to get it for cheaper. And then moving a couple years later to 2021, the last finite way that you can own Toy Story 2 individually in some marketing way of like owning everything at once to get a very specific Toy Story centric thing was the Toy Story 4-pack, which included the 4 films by that point, which included Toy Story 1, 2, 3, and now 4 in both DVD and Blu-ray. It's just a big box with all the existing discs on there. Just for the convenience, everything's in one packaging now. So again, nothing too crazy really there. It has 4 boxes for each of the 4 primary characters. Toy Story 1 has Woody, Toy Story 2 keeps to Jessie, Toy Story 3 is Buzz, and Toy Story 4 is Bo Peep. Which again, if you're talking about like just owning the movie to yourself, having it in your collection, again, this is that was the more easiest way to essentially have the whole Toy Story saga under your belt at the time period. It was well worth the investment at the time if you were just looking to just get the movies themselves, not really caring about the packaging and everything of the sort. That was just like the easiest way they decided to make it at the time for you to own it. And then lastly, in 2023, for Disney Animation's 100th anniversary special, Toy Story 2 was included in the multi-pack of films that was included on there. But again, that's just a whole assorted collection that really does not have any true Toy Story 2 centric focus on it. It's just, it was part of the history. It was, I believe, if I remember correctly, the 1999 representation for the franchise. So that's where it makes sense on it. And that is the most last up-to-date method that you can own Toy Story 2 in the modern day feel of the whole media cycle for this particular film. Now, I will say 4 years does make a difference between Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2. I definitely feel like Toy Story 1 had much more home media exploration to do, but considering Toy Story 2's time period, it's still got a very fair amount of it, you know, throughout the years from the year 2000 all the way to 2023. That's still 23 years. That's still over 2 decades of content that, of home media editions that you can own for your very much unique collection of it. Specifically focusing on Toy Story 2 centric editions, you know. I'm very happy that, like, I feel like in each generation of home media, there was always a definitive version that you can own. It wasn't just like a slap on. It was always like, you know, with some care, with some uniqueness. It wasn't just something they could just print the main cover again, put it on a new media edition, and boom, call it a day, you know. Whether it's the OG version from the very start of the 21st century to the, I guess for me, my definitive version from '05, and then the Steelbook version with the 4K editions at the very end of the 2010s, more prominently in the 2020s. I think honestly for all of it, it worked out to be, and I was very happy with it. And I'm, just Toy Story 2 carries such a special place in my heart. It just is no bum that I somehow own technically 4 editions of the same film. It just kind of speaks to the staying power of the Toy Story franchise. That's how we're up to a 5th installment right now. That's how this film is just so beloved by kids of different generations. I look forward to the day where I get to pop in either my DVD copy or my 4K copy into a player to showcase to my kids when it's time for them to view the film down the road, of course. But for the time being, there's so many options out there specifically on the DVD market to own this film. And honestly for me, the 4K edition I think is the most unique of them all, but the Toy Story 2 2005 special 2-disc edition carries a very special place in my heart. But it's no disrespect to every single version that existed out there for this particular film. But with all that being said, let me know down below, which edition of Toy Story 2 did you pick up in your lifetime? Was it all the way back in VHS or all the way to now to 4K? Let me know down below. I would love to have a conversation with you about it. But I believe this is going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been the Collection Compass giving an entire overview of the home media releases for Disney and Pixar's Toy Story 2. If you want to hear my thoughts specifically on the film, please go over to ActionX. We have our After the Theater movie review up for your viewing consumption, which, minor spoiler warnings, it's amazing. But again, not the movie itself. The review, I did my best. But with that being said, thank you again for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring that bell for updates when our next video is live, and then follow us on social media for more. But until we see each other again down the road, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out. Toy Story 2 Toy Story 2 has stand the test of time in theaters and in the hearts of loved ones, and that also includes on home media. Hey everyone, Joe here from the Collection Compass, and welcome to our Disney and Pixar's Toy Story 2 home media showcase. Every single home media version that you can own from Toy Story 2 that existed from all the way back in the year of 2000. It's all the way to now. It's just kind of, the staying power of the Toy Story franchise from then to now. Like, while Toy Story 1 will always have, be the one that started it all, it's the one that, is the oldest, that's going to stand the test of time, that's been there for a much longer time. Toy Story 2 still counts in there. 1999 to 1995 wasn't that much of a difference. 4-year of difference. Still exists a lot of opportunities for this film to be on the marketplace for a lot of I was surprised when I actually got down to the nitty gritty of it, how many times Toy Story 2 was in home media shelves, and how many times I think, to be completely transparent with you, I probably saw it on shelves on my local Target, at Best Buy when they used to sell home media. It was still prevalent at the time period that just, you just print out the Toy Story films, and it's always going to make money. And the fact that it spawned between VHS to DVD to Blu-ray to 4K just demonstrates how the staying power is, how marketable it is, and just in general how it was always easy to print out a new batch of copies and boom, it's just an instant moneymaker right there. There's just so many out there, and for me, being a kid, this was the first Pixar movie to come out when I'd been born. A Bug's Life is debatable, to be honest with you, but Toy Story 2 was the first Pixar film to come out in my lifetime. So for it to be here, obviously in the existence of my life, whether it was all the way back when I was a kid, 5 years old, to all the way now being nearly 30 years old, just having so much of Toy Story in my life, in my heart, is just something special for me to share, and I look forward to showing you guys what I have in store for every Toy Story 2 home media release ever.